obviously, I like language a lot. My parents started taking me to see plays starting from when I was very little. Oftentimes, I was either too young or just not bright enough to understand what was going on stage. I mean, in my defense, I was 9, and it was Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. But I loved the sound of dialogue. It sounded like music to me, so I wanted to imitate that sound. I don't have much of a visual sense at all, so I kind of find my way through with language, and I also like very claustrophobic spaces, compressed periods of time, and all those things factored into creating a movie like this. Of course, if you're going to do that, you do need a director with a great visual sense, a director who is able to get great performances out of the greatest actors, and of course I'm describing Danny Boyle.
Aaron seemed so affable, but there was no indication in the script about how to do it. Or it was just like interior day, continuous, and off you went, and off we went. And I think we all wanted to make it as rich an experience as possible for the audience in 2 ways, really. The acting, and you got to get great actors to pull off this stuff, which I'm delighted to say we did. And then you wanted to make it an immersive experience, so you were immersed in those actors and their world. And I suppose I love theatre, but I love cinema more, I suppose, in the way, because it has got that weird, illogical thing where you get lost in it. For me, theatre, I don't know. I went to a Hamlet the other night to see Benedict Cumberbatch Hamlet, who's really excellent. But you're not quite immersed in it in the way you would be in film, I think. So that's what you're trying to do, is it just immerse people in these people's performances and environment, really. That's what you're after, aren't we? That's what we're trying to do.
Is Sorkinese, as it's been dubbed, a sublime gift, or does it come with its own unique complexities?
There's more of it, so there's more work before you show up at 6 in the morning to shoot whatever. So you have to do that work and to get so on top of it that it's second nature. And that's what you have to do. It's just more reps and a lot more memorization, a lot more over and over and over, and so that you can walk in there that day ready to hit it. And everybody did. I mean, that's what we did on Newsroom, and you certainly don't have to do that on every movie, but you have to do it on an Aaron Sorkin script, and that's what we all did,
Well, when I first read it, page 1, page 2, God, wow, these people talk for a long time. Oh, God, they still talk for a long time. Page 55, yep, they're still talking. Okay. How the fuck are we going to get through this one? But my immediate reaction, to be honest, aside from how incredible it was to read and how solid every single character was, and how Jeff has said before, actually, Aaron writes the way that people think. And I don't think I'd ever really come across that quite to this extent, but I really did think, holy shit, Michael Fassbender, I am going to be his friend, and I am going to help him, and I am going to hold his hand. And I think I can safely say that he didn't need either of those things, any of those things. No, you bloody didn't. But you just get on with it. Much is being made about the length of the script and how much there was to learn. You're an actor. You learn your fucking lines. It's that's the first thing you do. You just get on with it. The pressure really comes in not forgetting them. That really is it, because you fuck everyone up. If you drop a word, the whole thing unravels and turns to dog shit. It really does.
Kate's up. Cut it.
Sorry, I'm at home. I feel comfy. But that really was, I think, that was the pressure, because it's not just the actors that you're walking and talking with. You've got these Steadicam guys, a Steadicam guy who was just unbelievable. I don't know how he held that machine for 12, 13-minute takes sometimes, not to mention boom operators who are running after you, trying not to trip over themselves and wires. And, there's so much concentration that goes on that it really does fall horribly to the actors if they forget something. Yes, I've said enough.
It's a one-off that you get scripts like this, certainly sort of modern day scripts. So I just thought, well, there goes my break, which was planned over that period of time. But just lucky. I just thought to myself, this is extraordinary writing, and it's just the best script that I'd read. So, I was thrilled, and then, as both Jeff and Kate said, then the work starts, and then you're less thrilled about it. But no, it was, like I say, it's a one-off opportunity for I think, an actor to receive writing like that and get the opportunity to do something like that, especially nowadays when, most scenes, comprise of like 10 sentences or something like that. This was the most, all of the electricity and action in this film is sort of dialogue driven. So it's a rare opportunity.
The first email I got was a couple names on it, Danny Boyle, Aaron Sorkin. It's, you just scramble to hit the download button fast enough to start reading it. I mean, that's the thing with Sorkin too, is that like, it's sort of weird just saying Sorkin all casually, like right here. Does it feel weird for you?
I liked it coming from you.
That's the
I
thing
really
about
did.
Sorkin. See,
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Sorry, you read the book, so what impressed you then about the screenplay, having read that biography?
The remarkable ability on Aaron's part to condense so much information and to make it so thrilling and rise to into a dramatic place, perhaps. There's so much that goes by so quickly, but so much is included. And to pinpoint these three pivotal moments in Mr. Jobs' life, and to be able to really, part of what we do as well is what Aaron does so beautifully is to perhaps take something substantial and real and to reimagine it and give it a different kind of life. It's been said that this is more of a painting than a photograph. Taking the book and using it sort of as a starting off point and bringing it to life in a different way, giving a suggestion or a sense of what the inspiration of what his inner life was like and what he was going through at that particular time, and then to have Danny's bold vision and style take a piece of literature and bring it to life in a remarkable way. It's a huge achievement. I'm really proud to have been a part of it.
I've got to say, Michael is an uncompromising actor, and I think on some level I connected that with what we knew about Jobs. I knew that the way that Michael would approach it would be he would be in search of, he's not interested in a hatchet job or in a deification, he's interested in the truth, in the way that Jobs pursued a perfection in his work. And I mean, to watch Michael work in pursuit of that was really uncompromising. And I mean, and I think it lifted the level for all the actors, and you get it for the crew as well. Because when you get somebody on set like that who is ready, like that, to pursue live something, everybody's like, oh, right, okay, let's do it. And he said to me, he said, why don't you shoot the rehearsal? Because what happens on a set is the actors turn up early in the morning and we kind of rough it through, and then they go off and get the stuff done. Meanwhile, the crew light and stuff like that. And then you come back and then you have a full rehearsal, normally. That's what you do, where everybody learns what they're doing or think they do. And he said, why don't you shoot it? I'd never done that before. And it's an amazing thing, because suddenly everybody's like, what? We're shooting the rehearsal? What? The focus pullers like this? And often it's the best take. And so I'll be doing that from now on, really. So.
I think, we've all said, the script was exceptional. There was a lot of it. And Danny, coming from theatre background, realized how we would have, need to approach it. So he set everything up for and about the actors. I have to say, he's just so generous and patient with me many times, and but just really kind of set up an environment for us where we could really do the best and in the most sort of supportive surroundings. For example, we got rehearsal. So, we had 2 weeks rehearsal before we started the first act. We went away, filmed the first act in 2 weeks. Then we had 2 weeks to prep the second act, filmed again the second act 2 weeks, and so forth for the third. I mean, that's unheard of, because the accountant's going apeshit. He's going, we can't pay for this. And, again, the fact that he comes from a theatre background, realized the importance of that, so that we would be well rehearsed. We'd have tried out and done our mistakes in the rehearsal space, got to really sort of feel it out with one another as actors, and then approach it on the day and shoot fast and effectively. And you know, I have to say, without him, it would have close to impossible to do it in a regular way of filming. So I have to sort of say, you know, massive thanks to him.
As an early adopter of digital technology yourself, I wonder if part of the appeal for you of Steve Jobs was that kind of forward-thinking nature that's led us to this point. And also, just very briefly, did you consult with Ridley Scott about shooting that original Mac advert?
Well, I, out of respect, I kind of rang him up and said, we're using 1984, you know, because he shot the 1984 advert, which Michael and Jeff stand in front of. But we didn't ask his permission. Because actually, the basic principle we worked to is we sought forgiveness rather than ask permission. Just, you know, that was the kind of, and it's a very sensible way to do it, actually, in this business, if you can get away with it. No, seriously. It's very interesting, your question, because, of course, because this guy, and it's, I think, the reason that we made the film, all of us, this guy has changed our lives in an extraordinary way, both in an obvious way about communication and the phone, but in so many other ways, this drive to the digital world that we now live in. And the implications of that, we're not discussing them in the film, but they're huge and significant. So to see where it emerged from and who that person was, or a version of who that person was, is essential, I think, for all of us to, and for this business and storytellers generally, to look at his life. We were very lucky because we were able to kind of almost illustrate it, because we shot the first act on 16mm, which is obviously because it was the earliest act, and also because he felt like, and certainly the way Michael did it, he felt like a guy fighting all these impossible forces that were stopping him getting to this vision or stopping people seeing it. And it felt like a rough, homemade kind of version, as though they'd even done it in the garage themselves. And then we moved to 35 for the second act, which is a beautiful storytelling act because it's an illusion act, and that felt beautiful for the Opera House. And then we moved to digital, because the third part is set in 1998, and although the Alexa camera, which is what we used, wasn't generally in use then in cinema, Jobs had already got there, of course, because he released Toy Story in 96, and I remember going to see it in Leicester Square, just thinking the world has changed. You know, I was turning up expecting a sleepy morning at an animated film with my kids and just feeling like you'd just been reborn. Something had changed out there in the world and everything was going to be different. I mean, in a minor way, obviously, we're filmmakers, it's not kind of a big deal, but within our circumspection, that was just an earthquake, you know, so he'd already got there. So it was great to pay him that respect, really, and also it helps the actors if you shoot on an inferior format like 16mm when they're trying to play a bit younger than themselves. So.
Oh, it's fabulous. It's absolutely wonderful. I have to say, I was thrilled. Absolutely thrilled, and then they completely fucked us over with it.
You know, the idea, you know, of course, when you're playing somebody that really did, you know, live in the world that we live in and has since passed away, and they have close ones that obviously would be worried about how their late husband or father or friend is going to be portrayed. For sure, it weighed on my conscience. But, you know, having spoke to my father and close friends, and much the same as, you know, he actually said it's like journalism. You know, you have a responsibility to tell stories, and that's your job. And if you approach it with the utmost respect, which I did, and I, you know, as I said, you know, answering the gentleman's question previous, I have the utmost respect for Steve Jobs and his family, and by no means ever wanted to set out portraying somebody without that respect going into it. So, yeah, hopefully, you know, when they see it, if they see it, they don't feel hurt by it, because it certainly wasn't my intent.
If you don't mind, could I mention that this has been widely reported, that while Mrs. Jobs, while Lorraine Powell Jobs did certainly from the get-go object to the movie being made, Lisa Jobs did not. And she's the one who's portrayed in the movie.